The unemployment rate in New Mexico is still nearly 6%. That's higher than the national average, and it's particularly hard to find a job in rural communities across our state. Now, remote work is one opportunity to help people find jobs and stay in their communities, but there are challenges, including learning how to manage customers by phone and getting the right internet connection to meet employer requirements. Producer Sarah Gustavus recently visited the SoloWorks program in Cibola County to learn more about a new job training program for remote workers. This story is part of the State of Change project.
Grants, New Mexico is home to about 9,000 people. The town experienced boom and bust periods from the 1950s through the 1980s. Uranium mining created high-paying jobs, but those left when the mining stopped. Sarah Pena lived through that. She was born in Cubero and loves the area, but spent most of her career traveling long distances for a job. She once drove more than an hour each way to work at a hospital and later the prison in Los Lunas, just south of Albuquerque.
My family and friends are here. My house is here. I am from here. I want to stay home. That's very important to me. I retired in 2010 because my granddaughter was born. They were looking for a babysitter, and I could watch her. I could babysit for her. I worked until she started Head Start. And then she didn't need me anymore. That's what she told me. But I was staying at home after she started school. And there's only so much you can do, you know, clean house, read. But I don't watch that much television, but I crochet and I knit and started visiting family, and I just started getting bored.
Samuel Jack also grew up in the area. He worked in the restaurant industry for 20 years. He left New Mexico but came back. Injuries and health concerns led him to seek out work that's less physically taxing and unpredictable.
In the restaurant business, your schedule is up and down. One day you're working in the morning, the next day you're working in the evening, one day you're working swing shift. It's kind of hard when raising a family.
The SoloWorks program trains people like Sarah and Samuel to become remote workers. They might answer customer calls or transcribe audio. In the 3-week program, they get resume help and guidance on how to transfer previous skills to remote work. They also practice typing and learn strategies for managing difficult calls with customers.
Being on a phone or online, you can't feel their body language. You can't see their body language. You have to kind of hear the body language now and hear in their tone of what they're trying to say.
You left out the stuff about dancing.
Right.
Inbound calls or outbound calls, whatever's available and I can do. And I know I can do any of it because I was taught how to do it.
Bringing in new jobs from outside New Mexico could have a significant economic impact beyond the workers' families.
For Cibola County, we're challenged because the majority of our tax base is exempt in that 2/3 to 3/4 of our land is tribal, public, national parks, forests. So we don't have a tax base. We don't have a strong tax base. We see this remote work as an opportunity to expand the economic tax base by our remote workers working and securing employment with people who are out of state, bringing new money into the county to help expand that tax base.
Unlike other economic development initiatives that bring in jobs or offer incentives to companies, SoloWorks is reimbursed by the state for each person who is trained and placed in a remote job. The first phase in grants started in 2017.
Through the pilot, we came up with an estimated average of $3,500 to $5,000 per person to be placed in a position. Once they go through the training, the research and application process, and then the placement process, that whole time frame, which can take up to 3 months, if not more.
That can be a tough sell for lawmakers. Less than 50 people have been trained so far. SoloWorks and Grants needs to train and place another 30 people in jobs by the end of June to receive funding set aside by the legislature for the program. Center Director Shelley Fawcett moved here earlier this year, and she's hopeful they can do it.
I'm from a rural town in Utah that's very boomer bust, and so it was kind of close to my heart. The rural plight, so to speak.
Fawcett is working to expand the center's list of potential work opportunities beyond answering calls or transcribing.
I'm very interested in helping people getting into virtual assisting or virtual admin. I'm even collecting curriculum and trying to make connections as far as audiobook narration, because why not? Because there are people who are interested in that. And I mean, there's medical billing and coding. There are a lot of things that you can do if you don't have to have the hardline phone connection.
Fawcett helps trainees evaluate what's a legitimate job and what's a scam. She also says the adaptability of the program makes it possible to meet the needs of people with disabilities or caregiving responsibilities. And she's creating a community of remote workers who can mentor and advise new trainees. William Yarbrough went through the training and now works out of the center doing calls for a medical equipment company.
I think it would have been a lot harder. The SoloWorks program does more than just the training, it's the support. They gave me a place to work. The amenities here, I know I can have some coffee when I get into work. There's someone to talk to if I want to, especially if I want to advance into the job, if I'm not liking it or if I'm having issues with my employer.
A remote job is like any other job. There's potential, but hard work is required to land the right role.
My grandson starts college pretty soon. He graduates this year. I have money in the fund for him and my other granddaughter, starting one for the baby. I can help them with school. I can make trips. I can go buy a new van. Just having extra money is nice. Not to be extravagant, but I put a new roof on my house. I want to paint the outside. I would just want to do so many things that I can do if I have the extra money.
This is not a lottery. This is an opportunity. The opportunity is that you can have an opportunity to work at home. And it's here. It's right now.
For New Mexico in Focus and the State of Change Project, I'm Sarah Gustavus.
That story was part of our collaboration with the Solutions Journalism Network and media partners across the state. Sarah Gustavus is with me now in studio. Now, why did you go to Grants for this story? Very first question.
You know, I've been interested in a long time in this idea of remote work because I always think, well, we talk about people leaving New Mexico, people leaving rural communities. I've always wondered, what if people's customer base or the potential for the work that they could do was online? And so when we heard about the SoloWorks program, we thought that's exactly the kind of story that we really want to dig into and see where is it working, where are there some challenges, and that's really the solutions journalism approach, is not just to say, here's something, we're done here, everyone needs to do this, but say, where is it working, where are there opportunities, and where are there challenges?
Interesting. Now, in your report that Cibola County doesn't have a large economic base, so what's been going on there since the area changed in recent decades? What's happening in Cibola County?
When we were out in Grants, a lot of folks mentioned that when uranium mining stopped for the last time in the 1980s, that really changed the community. That people who had a large network of extended family did try to stay, maybe drove long distances to Albuquerque or to other places to work for a long time. One of the women we interviewed, Sarah Pena, talked about driving to Los Lunas every day, more than an hour each way.
Wow.
But a lot of people left, and so the community has gotten a little smaller, and that's a trend that we've seen across the state, where young people who need jobs in any industry have had to move to Albuquerque, to Santa Fe, to Las Cruces, or even out of state just to find work. And so we see this particular project is fitting into this larger trend and wondering how much of an impact can SoloWorks make. It's fairly new, so we don't have a lot of numbers yet, but we're really interested in continuing to follow it and see where could this go, how could this change a community if a significant number of people could do their work online.
It seems pretty clear and almost obvious that internet access and good internet access is critical for this kind of work. What are the challenges for Cibola County and other places to make this happen?
Right, and you know, internet access and good internet access, two completely different things. We have especially discovered in working on this series, we recently had the story on the 4 pueblos that came together to create broadband internet access to their libraries. Antonia Gonzalez and Leah Todd worked with us on that one. You know, so there's people getting internet in lots of ways, some people having to get it on their phone. You can't really have a job, you can't run a business, you can't do your work on a cell phone. You need that internet access. So in some communities, there is internet access, there is broadband internet access, and then you get into, well, if you can access it, can you afford it? How expensive is it? So the Solo Work Center has acknowledged that. They have some space for people to rent. They also have a bit of a trade they can do if folks are just getting started in their remote work. They can mentor other potential workers and do some things to help support the center to get that access in there. There was at least one worker doing all of his work every day at the center where he had that broadband access, because I found out in doing this story that many of the call centers that offer this remote work, they have very specific requirements. The speed you have to have, and not just the speed, you have to have a room with a door that you can close.
Oh, no kidding.
So you can't just do your work in a living room. You have to demonstrate to them that you have a room that you can treat like an office in your house. So this young man had roommates, had his internet connection in the kitchen, so couldn't quite make that work at home. So a lot of people, you know, if they get that work started, maybe they need to start the Solo Work Center, and then they need to look at their options in the community after that.
Sure.
And the community, economic development leaders, city leaders, community leaders, they recognize this, they see this. There's a lot of different ways that we could get at this. Our colleagues over at KUNM, Marisa DeMarco and then Leah Todd at the Solutions Journalism Network, they did a really interesting set of stories on the Kit Carson Co-op in Taos. The electric co-op has gone in and started installing broadband, and they've done that knowing this is important for our members. It's very expensive, but it's worth that cost because people need it. They need it for school, they need it for work, they need it for all the business that you need to do online in 2018.
I could imagine, absolutely. You know, any job's good news, but what's different about these kind of jobs that are, you mentioned out-of-state employers, so to speak. What's different about these kind of jobs? What does a person need to bring to the table, so to speak?
You know, what's interesting about these jobs, so Mark Lotman, who we've had on the show before, he's an economic development expert. He works with the legislature. He works with lots of organizations. He's been involved in this project in some ways. He talks about economic-based jobs. These are these jobs that create entirely new jobs and that they can grow because the business is out of state. There's this additional opportunity. Let's say you open a business in Grants. Well, you only have so many people in Grants. They're going to use your business or they're not. But if your customer base is online, and something we didn't follow up on in this series, but I'm still interested in, is companies that intentionally are looking for their customers out of state. There's a couple of companies around the state where most of their customer base is actually out of state. They do all their production here, their employees enjoy the quality of life here, but they're shipping products left and right out of New Mexico, and that's how they're growing. So these are jobs that we need to be looking at of rather than bringing in a call center, which seems like a lot of jobs, a physical call center, you know, 600, 700, 800 jobs, but then if that call center leaves, all those jobs go with them all at once. This is a way of kind of redistributed it in an interesting way that we like to kind of keep track of.
This story I mentioned is part of the State of Change project for the Solutions Journalism Network. What more can we expect from the groups going from here?
So we are going to keep, you know, we like this solutions approach. I know you and I both are into this on New Mexico in Focus. We've done some of this in the past. I think there's a lot of potential for us to keep engaging on these issues, to keep reaching out to folks across New Mexico and saying, what's working in your community? And then we can come in as journalists and say, why is it working? Or where is this working in another state? What are they doing that we can learn from, that we can adapt in that New Mexico specific way here? So I think we can do a lot more with this. We can keep working with these partners like the Santa Fe New Mexican, like NM Politics, Heath Houseman down in Las Cruces, and KUNM, to keep looking for those solution stories that are going to give us more information about what's happening in New Mexico right now, beyond those statistics about what's the unemployment rate, where's the call center jobs. You know, there's a lot more that we can get at with this.
Good stuff. Thank you for your work on this. It's eye-opening and enlightening, really is. Now, we want to hear from you. Go to NewMexicoInFocus.org and tell us what you think about the State of Change project, solutions-focused reporting, as Sarah mentioned, and what you'd like to see us cover next.